It's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Timothy Young, who completed the Kiwanis Doctor program in June 2009 and is a board-certified emergency medicine and pediatric emergency medicine physician. Currently, he is the director of the new pediatric emergency department at Loma University Children's Hospital. Dr. Young serves as an assistant professor of pediatrics as well as an associate professor of emergency medicine at Loma University School of Medicine, and is the co-editor of the Gurney Room, a virtual learning laboratory which uses technology and simulation to teach technical skills and provide medical knowledge. Dr. Young shared that one of his hidden talents included his fast reflexes, a skill honed by years of his kids knocking things off tables. He also shared that one of the most interesting things about him is that he was once hit by a foul ball at a baseball game and had to be carted out of the stadium. Apparently, this was before he developed those fast reflexes. Please join in welcoming Dr. Young.
That is a true story. I was 12 years old, watching my favorite team, the Angels in Anaheim, and I was looking through a pair of binoculars and I was not paying attention to the game. And a foul ball was hit at me and I did not see it, and it hit me in the kneecap, and they carted me out of the stadium in a stretcher on national television. Everybody in the stadium looking at me watching, but I was able to come back to the stadium. They invited me back, and I got to meet the entire team and sit in the dugout and sit on the bench and meet the manager before the game and go to the clubhouse. So it was worth it. Getting hit in the kneecap was worth it. I didn't get to play baseball for the rest of that season, but it was worth it. Good morning. It's really great to be here. I'm so excited to be here sharing with you some of the projects that we've been doing at Loma Linda. I'm so appreciative of the partnership between Loma Linda and the Children's Fund, and all of the great things that it's allowed us to do for the children in our area and also outside of our area. And as a thank you to all of you for donating and for your support, I just wanted to share some of the projects that we've done with you so that you can see the impact that your donations have made. My journey with the Children's Fund started 15 years ago. This is a photo of me 15 years ago. I was reminiscing with Pete, I can't believe it's been that long. 15 years ago, I was chosen to be the second Kiwanis doctor. And you're probably wondering, what does that mean? About 17 years ago, Loma Linda and the Children's Fund decided to collaborate, and the idea was that to have the biggest impact on children, the Children's Fund would sponsor the training of a doctor in pediatric emergency medicine. Most kids who are cared for in ERs are not cared for by pediatric ER doctors because there just aren't enough of us. To this day, there are about only 3,000 of us in the entire country. Most doctors who do training in pediatric emergency medicine do it so that they can teach other doctors. The idea that the Children's Fund in Loma Linda had at the time was to train additional doctors so that those doctors would go out and teach other doctors, nurses, and paramedics how to care for children better when they're sick or when they're injured. And so during my training, this is what I did. I actually got to go out to sometimes remote areas in California and Nevada, never Hawaii, unfortunately. I wasn't able to go to Hawaii. I went to Tuba City, I went to 29 Palms, I went to El Centro, and I worked with doctors and I worked with paramedics and nurses and taught them how to take better care of kids. And I did that by giving them presentations and also doing hands-on training. It was a really rewarding experience for me, and I learned how to teach, and I took that forward into my career. What started with an idea of training one doctor actually ended up in 4 doctors. So over the course of 8 years, 4 of us were trained as Kiwanis doctors. You see on the left, on the bottom there, Andy Thorpe. She's currently working in the Kaiser system. And then next to her is Sarah Christian Kopp, who works with me at Loma Linda. And then on the far right is Kristen Rotniaki, who's at UC San Diego. So all 4 of us are still in California teaching other doctors. And I think this was really the idea that the Children's Fund in Loma Linda had at the time, was that we would continue to pay this forward throughout our career, and we are all still training doctors. After I finished my training, my personal journey was that I stayed at Loma Linda and I became the program director for the training program in pediatric emergency medicine there. So this is me with my group of fellows a couple of years ago. I think over the years I've probably been a part of the training of 30 additional doctors in pediatric emergency medicine, and most of those doctors have actually gone to, if you can believe it, California, Nevada, and Hawaii. In fact, we have 2 doctors in this picture who worked in Nevada. And they are actually training additional doctors. So I think this is really the vision that the Children's Fund in Loma Linda had at the time, and it's really been, I think, a success over the years. In 2016, the Children's Fund approached us again and wanted to support us, and wanted to collaborate again. And what we thought at that time was that the way that doctors were learning had changed, and they weren't learning really in person so much anymore. Online learning had exploded, and we really felt that we could reach more doctors if we did something online. So what we decided to do was we created a project called the Gurney Room. And you're probably wondering why we named it that. We actually have a gurney room around the corner from our pediatric ER, and this is it. And it's a room where we store our gurneys when they're being cleaned for the next patient. And at the time we had started teaching there and learning there with our doctors who were learning with us. And we decided that we would start making videos of the things that we were teaching and put them on the internet so that anybody could access them. So that doctors, nurses, paramedics at other places could learn from what we were doing. So this is our website, it's thegurneyroom.org. This is kind of our hub for all of our teaching. We also have a YouTube channel, and last I checked, our YouTube channel has over 200,000 views. So we have we have a lot of teaching videos that we put up there, teaching other doctors how to take care of kids when they're sick. We also promote this on social media. So our social media account is at the Gurney Room. This is our Instagram account. Our Instagram account has, last I checked, about 20,000 views per month. So we have people actually all over the world who are learning from our videos. We get questions from doctors, nurses, paramedics at other places about how they can take better care of kids, and we get to interact with them, which is really rewarding. And of course, we give a shout out to the Children's Fund. So this is on our website. We give credit where credit is due. So this is all of you, and a thank you for your donations that are making this possible. In 2020, when COVID hit, actually one of our videos was picked up by Wired magazine, and it was featured. We made a video about how to place patients on a ventilator when they have COVID and they're very sick to help support their respirations. And we did this in a way that was safe and was innovative and was a new way that we'd sort of developed in our simulation center. And Wired magazine used our video. You can see the Gurney Room up on the top right there. And they did this feature and put it out there for everyone to see. And also during that year, in 2020, this organization called Academic Life in Emergency Medicine named our training program the most innovative in the country. And they also featured us as one of the top 30 websites in emergency medicine. So I really think our program was really a success. Thank you. Fast forward a little bit to 2020, and we started to think that really what we were missing from the Kiwanis Doctor program was really the hands-on teaching. Our videos were out there, they were being watched by people all over the country, but we really wanted to do something, again, that we would be able to have sort of a hands-on component to it. So again, we collaborated with the Children's Fund and with Loma Linda, and we created something called LIME, which stands for the Laboratory for Innovations in Medical Education. So this is something that is at Loma Linda in the School of Medicine, and they gave us a small room, and the idea with this room is we wanted to develop innovative teaching materials, teaching trainers that could be created by anyone, anywhere, so that they would be able to do hands-on teaching with the videos that we make themselves. And we needed a room to do this, and we wanted to be able to build and create innovative training tools. And so Loma Linda gave us the space to do that. In this room, we have hand tools, we have power tools. We get to work with medical students at Loma Linda, and they get to design different trainers. One of our prized possessions is our 3D printer. I don't know if you've been exposed to 3D printing, but we can actually design trainers that we can print very cheaply, and then we can post on the internet the file that people can download and actually print these trainers themselves. So this is Marissa, she's a med student that we work with, and she's actually building our 3D printer. As an example of what we can do with this, we were able to take the spine of a 6-year-old child from a CT scan, and we were able to 3D model that, print it out in plastic, and you can use it as a trainer to practice doing a lumbar puncture or a spinal tap. which is a procedure that can be life-saving. You can make a life-saving diagnosis and treat a child who has something like meningitis. And we were able to build this trainer with the assistance of ballistics gel. Do you know what ballistics gel is? If you've ever seen Mythbusters, it's this substance that can be melted down and molded to any form, and it actually has the response and the feeling of human tissue. So we started doing this, and this is my garage here. When I first started making this, I tried to do it in my kitchen, and I burnt it, and my wife kicked me out. She said, "You can't do this anymore. The whole house smells. You have to go out to the garage." This was before we had the space at Loma to do this. So we were able to melt down some ballistics gel and form it in the shape of a child's back around our spinal model, and you can actually do a lumbar puncture on this model, and it feels amazingly realistic. You can make this trainer for about $40. To give you an idea of how cheap that is, a commercial trainer that allows you to do a lumbar puncture is about $5,000. So we posted these plans online, and this website, which is one of the most popular in emergency medicine, it has over 2 million views per year, posted our plans to make this. And so people can actually download the file. If they have access to a 3D printer, they can make it. So doctors, nurses, paramedics in remote locations can make these trainers themselves. And I get messages from them that they make this trainer and that they practiced on it, and it allowed them to do a smoother lumbar puncture, which is really a rewarding thing to hear. The reach has been much further than California, Nevada, and Hawaii, unexpectedly. This is a picture that I got from a group in Rwanda that actually made one of our trainers and used it to train the first emergency medicine residents in the first training program in the country of Rwanda, which I thought was really cool. This is one of our favorite trainers. So we call this trainer Shrek. Shrek stands for, it's got to stand for something, right? So it stands for Simulation Headgear for Removals in the Ear Canal. And if you're wondering why we call it Shrek, this is why we call it Shrek. Because you look like Shrek when you wear it. But you wear this trainer, and we built it so that you can simulate taking objects out of kids' ears. If you've had a toddler, you know that they put everything in their ears and their nose. They often come to us in the ER and ask us to take it out. And it's a delicate procedure, and you have to know what you're doing. So we built this with wrestling headgear and silicone ears, and it has actually ear canals. And with it, you can practice removing foreign bodies. We've actually been able to develop some innovative ways, safer ways to actually take objects out of kids' ears. And we posted this online. These are the directions. This is a website that's read by emergency doctors across the country, and you can actually build this for about, again, $30, and you can practice with somebody else and get some practice before you need to do this. Of course, we give acknowledgement to the Children's Fund also in this paper. This is another fun thing that we're experimenting with. This is called life casting. So this comes straight out of Hollywood. What life casting is you make a mold of a body part, and you can use this to make a fake leg or a fake arm. They use this in Hollywood again. And what you do is you paste on silicone, and you make a mold using plaster of Paris. And so we did this with a medical student's foot, and we ended up with something that looked a lot like her foot, and it actually has 3D printed bones inside of it. And we use this to practice removing things like glass and splinters from kids' feet. And again, we post these instructions. You can print it out and you can make it yourself, and it costs about $30. This is one of my favorite things we've made. We call this Intubaby. So this is an intubation trainer. Intubation is putting a breathing tube. And it's a very, again, delicate procedure, one that you need a lot of practice with. Trainers for this cost about $5,000. This is all 3D printed, and if you have access to a 3D printer, it costs about $35. So anywhere across the world, you can print this out, and you can practice intubating so that when you need to do this for a patient, it's safer. And this exists because of your donations. Our students have been able to present these projects all across the country. This is a conference in San Diego where they're presenting. You can see Shrek in the foreground there. And so our students are actually teaching ER doctors how to do this, and also how to build these trainers so that they can go out to where they work, build the trainers, and teach people where they are. So again, and this is just multiplying. And our students have actually won awards for their trainers, which I'm really proud of. Lyme on any given day looks very busy. It looks like this. We have projects going on. We have people working on writing. We have people working on 3D printing. We're shooting videos. It's very busy. We're kind of outgrowing our space. Thankfully, Loma Linda has agreed to give us a bigger space. So they're showing us around campus, and this looks like this is the room that we're going to move into. We're very excited about this. We'll be able to have more video equipment, more 3D printers. We'll be able to sort of do this on a larger scale, so we're really excited about that. The last project I want to share with you is one that I think really gets at the core of what the Children's Fund is about and what the Children's Fund is trying to accomplish. You might know that we moved into a new hospital exactly a year ago. I think it was a year ago today when I think about it. We have a brand new children's hospital. It's enormous, it's beautiful. This is our waiting room. If you've been in an ER, you know that you often have to wait, right? Because we triage patients. And depending on how busy we are, patients have to wait in the waiting room to be seen. And our nursing staff, when we moved, had the idea that we should use that time. Instead of showing movies on the Disney Channel, which is what you're seeing here, we should take that opportunity to actually educate our patients. And so, again, we talked to the Children's Fund, and we collaborated, and we were awarded a grant to make educational videos for trauma prevention, which is really at the core of what the Children's Fund's about. And while we were thinking about this, I thought back to children who I've seen who were injured in situations that could have been prevented. So I thought back to the 2-year-old whose mother put him down for a nap upstairs. He woke up early, she was not aware of it. And he explored the room, explored the window, which was not secured, fell out the window, 2 stories, came into the ER in critical condition with skull fractures, bleeding in his brain, bad injuries, and that could have been prevented. And I thought back to other cases, like the 6-year-old who asked her mom if she could, unfasten her seatbelt in the back seat and lay down because she was tired, and mom let her because she thought it was okay, and then they got in a car accident, and she was ejected from the car, and she had bad injuries, and thankfully we were able to care for her, but it was something that could have been prevented. And I thought about all the toddlers who I've seen who've drowned. It's often the same story. They were at a family party, parents turned their back for just 1 minute, the toddler fell in the pool and drowned. These are terrible stories that I have to live through in my work, and I really want to do something to prevent that. And so we thought that we could really make the biggest impact here. We actually looked at our injuries that we've seen over the past 10, 20 years that could be prevented. We looked at our data, and we found that, unsurprising, it's these sorts of things: head injuries, car accidents, falls, poisonings, drownings, things that are preventable that we can prevent for our kids. And we made videos to address each of these. So we just finished shooting these videos. We wrote the scripts. We work with medical students. We bought really professional cameras and lighting equipment. We learned how to do makeup and all sorts of things I thought I would never do. That's Bo and Emmy in the foreground, and they're working with Dr. Lauren Mills, who's another one of our pediatric ER doctors. And we shot these videos, and we intercut them with scenes that we dramatized of kids, falling into pools and things like that. We didn't actually film kids doing that, but we were able to find some footage of that. And we cut these together, and we just finished editing them. And probably in the next few weeks, they're going to go into our waiting room so that families can watch them while they're waiting. And we're actually going to have resources linked to these videos. So there will be a QR code under the TV, and a family can scan the QR code, and they can find a list of resources. So they can find how to get their car seats checked to make sure that they're properly installed. They can find resources on swimming lessons. They can find resources on making sure that your pool is safe. We also have problems with food insecurity, so we made a video about that, and they can find resources on shelters and food pantries and things in our area to really sort of prevent these injuries that we see with kids. This is a still of one of the videos. I didn't want to include the whole video because I was sure that something would go wrong with it, but you can see how professional it looks. I was really proud of this. It was really fun to make these videos, and we've made a whole group of them, and they're going to be used really soon. So I just want to thank you for all your support, and I hope that gives you an idea of the impact that your support is making. I think we've really been able to impact not just our own patients in our community, but patients around California, Nevada, and Hawaii, and actually across the world. And on a personal note, I really want to thank you for your support because it's made my job more exciting, and I'm really grateful for the opportunities that it's given me. Really, the best part of my job is teaching. I love to teach doctors who are learning how to take care of kids. I love to teach families, and your support has allowed me to do that in really fun and interesting ways. So I just want to thank you, and I'm grateful to all of you. As I look around the room, I'm really impressed with all that you've done, and I do want you to know that your support is really being used to make an impact on kids' lives. So thank you.